Gentlemen, could you please remove your caps? Gentlemen, if you could please replace your caps, and could the class please be seated?
Good evening. Introducing this year's salutatorian, Senior Sarah Goldreich.
Hello. It is difficult to introduce our next speaker with just a few words, except to say that she is literally unbelievable. An outstanding scholar, a person of honor and commitment. She is one of the finest to walk the halls of Chelmsford High School, graduating second in her class while maintaining incredible participation in extracurricular activities such as the yearbook and class government. Libby is an example we all should follow. This fall, she plans to attend George Washington University and major in chemistry. She has asked me to thank her friends, family, and teachers for all their support throughout the years. It is now my honor to introduce a wonder and an inspiration to us all, Miss Libby Palm.
Dr. Merger, Dr. Troten, Mr. Levine, Deans Conrad and Toronto, honored members of the school committee and PTO, and our faculty at Chelmsford High School, respected guests, and fellow graduates, I am pleased to speak to you this evening. On a granite block near the tomb of John F. Kennedy is a quote from Aeschylus. In our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, and in our despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. Through pain, the human heart comes to wisdom, to the knowledge and understanding of what is true and lasting. Today we, the class of 1993, shall graduate from Chelmsford High School, marking the end of 4 years of work, commitment, and time. pain, if you will. With the reception of a diploma, many of us may assume that we know it all. This is completely wrong. During our high school years, we have merely begun a process of growth that continues through life. Each experience that we have is the result of a decision, even if we choose to leave that decision to others. Furthermore, many decisions and experiences bring with them pain. In his book, The Prophet, Khalil Gibran suggests that even the greatest joy can be mixed with sorrow. The joy of going to college has underneath it the sadness of leaving behind family and friends. Choosing to enter college, the workforce, or the military brings with it new challenges and sadness as we see one chapter of our lives close and a new one begin. Therefore, while it can be said that experience is the teacher, it can also be said that the pain accompanying the experience is truly the teacher. With each decision, we may experience pain and also gain an expanded understanding of universal truth, wisdom. As we graduate, we may lack the life experience necessary for achieving the level of wisdom we would like to think we have reached. Many of us are only now beginning to comprehend the depth of our own experiences and are unqualified to judge the wisdom or suffering of ourselves or of others. As we mature, our number of experiences will grow, as will our wisdom, making us better able to understand the position of another person. Of course, there will always be those people who defy understanding, who have experienced a pain so great as to be incomprehensible to others. The important thing is to remember that we shall not always be able to understand the motives and the mental, emotional, and physical situations of another person. Examples of this unqualified judgment are all around us, as people are constantly told, "You just don't work up to your potential," or, "If you only made up your mind to apply yourself, you'd do so much better." We see it in academic, athletic, and social life. The truth for us today is that whether graduating from high school or law school, we really don't know much about other people's lives. It is not our task to judge. Even when we have learned more about life's hardships, it is still not for us to pass judgment on others. Rather, it is our task to attempt to grasp the circumstances surrounding a person's actions and to try to understand what led to his or her response. We should, wherever possible, offer compassion and assistance, and where it is impossible, stand aside and keep our mouths shut. We must remember that the pain of others can teach us too. Gibran speaks of human suffering, saying, "Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. Your pain is the breaking of the shell which encloses your understanding." May the pain which we all inevitably experience lead you all to a greater understanding of yourselves and others. Thank you.
Presenting the gavel, ceremonial gavel, the president of the senior class, Jeffrey Mativia.
I would now like to invite Michael Stephen Kasparian, president of the class of 1994, to the podium. Where is that? Michael, it is my pleasure as the president of the class of 1993 to present you this gavel, the symbol of authority and responsibility. The class of 1993 wishes you and the class of 1994 the best of everything in all your endeavors. We sincerely hope that you and your class will follow and uphold the fine traditions that have been established over the years at Chelmsford High School.
Jeff Mativier, Honorable Mr. Pasquale, Dr. Moser, Mr. Levine, Dean Conrad, Dean Toronto, faculty and staff, family and friends, and graduates of the class of 1993. I am very honored to accept this gavel on behalf of the class of 1994. I hope that we as a class will be as successful in our accomplishments as you, the class of 1993, were in yours. Your presence here will not be forgotten. The class of 1994 respects the fine example you have set for us and follow it with pride. Speaking for the entire class, I congratulate each and every one of you on your outstanding achievements thus far and wish you the bestest of luck in your future endeavors. May you find peace and contentment in remembering the good times you had at Chelmsford High. Thank you, and good luck to you all.
Good evening. We stand here today at what I think we can all agree is a pivot point in our lives, at the beginning of one journey and the end of another. We look back at the past with fond memories and look towards the journey to come with eager anticipation. It will be a path with enormous promise, potential, aspiration, and achievement. However, our new journeys will not be without its hard times. Our new individual journeys will prove to be challenging and sometimes even lonely. Unlike our past journey, where we had many friends who were willing to help us through those tough times, we now must get through those obstacles on our own. And in order to do that, you will need character. We find ourselves at that fork in the road where we must make individual decisions concerning the directions of our lives we will be taking. It is through the four cornerstones of character that we will be able to make these decisions. These cornerstones are initiative, imagination, individuality, and independence. As I stand here tonight, I have the confidence that you all will be successful. On your road to success, remember this always. Do not be misguided into thinking that this diploma gives you a free ride. On the contrary, with this diploma comes vast responsibility. First on that list of responsibilities should be to your community. America was not founded on selfishness. It was founded on the principles of hard work and the general caring for other people's concerns. And likewise, it is your responsibility to give back to the community which you have received from it. Today, we live in a wonderful world, but not one without its problems, but also not one without its possibilities. We have always held to the hope, the belief, and the conviction that there is a better life, a better world beyond the horizon. Tonight, I challenge each and every one of you to use this diploma to build a new world, a far better world, one in which the eternal dignity of man is respected. And remember always, Be more concerned with your character than with your reputation. For your character is who you truly are, while your reputation is merely what others think of you. Best of luck in your future journeys, and thank you. Mr. Levine, would you please join me at the podium? Mr. Levine, on behalf of the class of 1993, it gives me great pleasure to present you with this check. This class wishes that you use this money to defray the cost of the cleanup and picnic tables at the Science Pond lunch area. The class of 1993 is happy to donate this gift to Chelmsford High School as a token of their appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. Seniors, what a banquet, huh? Was that a banquet Friday night or what? I'd like to take a moment right now to recognize the most important facet of any school. Students, of course, and the classroom teacher. I would ask that you, as a last opportunity as a class, take this opportunity to say thank you to the Chelmsford High School faculty. Please rise. Faculty, please rise. I would also like to give you an opportunity to say thank you to both of your deans, Dean John Conrad and Dean Angelo Taranto. Now I would like to take special recognition of Dean Conrad's energy and enthusiasm for coordinating today's graduation ceremony. Thank you very much. Congratulations, parents, for all the work and energy that you have put in over the last 12 years. We commend you and applaud you. Somebody who deserves recognition, who isn't here this evening, and in recognition of her, I recognize through her the entire support staff at the high school. I'd like to recognize the hard work that my secretary, Vicki Demedid, has done in order to put this program together and keep everything on track. I'd like to thank Mrs. Demedid and thank all of our support staff at the high school for all of their hard work all year on behalf of our students. Just a few words. I'd like to speak to my students for a moment. This evening, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about change. For as of this very moment, you are going through one of life's biggest changes. Leaving everything that you've known for 12 years of public school is not an easy task. And looking forward to the future and the unknown can be a scary proposition. Change, however, is as much a part of our lives as birth and death. Change often means the end of something and the beginning of something else. And in this, the 25th anniversary year of the death of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, it is appropriate to quote what he had to say about change. Change, said Senator Kennedy, is the motivator of progress, but it has its enemies. What the senator meant is that change is a positive force in our lives, but resisted by many, usually out of fear. There's a story about a sea captain who saw a light of another ship coming straight at him in the dark. He had his signalman blink to the other ship, "Change your course 10 degrees to the north," to which the return signal was, Change your course 10 degrees to the south. The captain signaled back, I am a captain. Change your course north. The return signal stated, I am a seaman first class. Change your course south. The captain, now infuriated, signaled, damn it, change your course north. I am on a battleship. To which the reply came, change your course south. I am in a lighthouse. The moral of that little story is that change is often difficult, inevitable. It's going to happen one way or the other, and usually for the good. Rather than being consumed by the change process or fearing it, utilize it to your benefit. You will be participants in this world in one way, shape, or form. Some of you will be outspoken leaders, others quiet role models. Regardless of the role that you choose to play, you will have impact, whether it be on your family, neighbors, friends, or the greater community. It is therefore up to you, all of you, to do your part to change this world for the better. Decry that which drives us apart and celebrate that which brings us together. Seek understanding, not confrontation. Choose kindness and compassion over meanness and cold-heartedness. Choose tolerance over intolerance. Choose peace over violence. Choose to be fair and decent with honesty and personal integrity. And above all, remember the words that I greeted you with, the same ones with which I shall leave you. No one has the right to take away your dignity, and you don't have the right to take away anyone else's. I congratulate you. I wish you the very best that life has to offer. Thank you. Introducing the valedictorian of the class of 1993, Senior Erin Tavano.
There is no doubt that this year's valedictorian has earned her position. As if being number one of 380 of her peers isn't enough, Yushan has participated in a wide variety of activities, including the school literary magazine, student activist group for the environment, her church youth group, and violin lessons. And as if that weren't enough, she is one of the nicest people in the world and my friend for the past 7 years. Next year, she will attend Cornell University. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present the CHS valedictorian for the class of 93, Ms. Yushan Tran.
A diploma. It's a certificate issued by a school indicating graduation. To some of us, it may be just a piece of paper which our parents will probably hang on the family room wall. But diploma is more than a piece of paper. It is something which represents a milestone in our lives. But without a particular group of people, this milestone could not have been reached. And the group of people to which I refer to are the many teachers whom we have had for the past 12 years. Teachers. Some students frown when they hear that word. They associate with people who set out to give students tons of homework and very hard tests. People who want to make kids' lives miserable. This is an impression some of us have, but teachers are not really like that. Teachers are a group of people who dedicate their lives to sharing what they have learned with the young people of this world. They are very important to our success. Think back to our elementary school years. Remember the teachers we had then. They were the ones who taught us the basics. They taught us how to read and write and how to add and subtract. They introduced to us the world of science, social sciences, art, and music. They taught us the fundamentals for further study. Teachers have a reason for doing what they do. Some make their classes difficult, not to torture us, but to challenge us, to make us work to our fullest potential, so that we can make the most of what we are able to do. These teachers are dedicated to making us understand what we learn. They take the time to teach us everything clearly, to go over information if we don't understand it, and to review information to help us retain what we have learned. They even take the time outside of class to give us extra help. They hope that school will be challenging, not boring. Other teachers share with us their love of what they teach. They enjoy what they do and hope to make learning fun. They want us to have a deep appreciation for what we learn. These teachers use different teaching methods, hoping that it will be more effective in gaining our attention and interest. They hope that we will enjoy our classes. There are also teachers who hope to show us how what we learn can be applied to life. There are math teachers who show us how math can help us in thinking and analyzing. Science teachers who show us how things happen according to certain scientific laws. English teachers who expose to us various aspects of life in the world through literature. There are history teachers who hope that we can learn valuable lessons from past events. There are also foreign language teachers who enhance our understanding of other cultures. Last but not least, there are also business, computer, consumer, and technology education teachers whose classes will directly help our daily lives. Teachers not only convey to us their knowledge, but they also mold us into better people by setting a good example for us through their actions. They teach us about honesty when they prohibit cheating. They teach us about dedication, commitment, and perseverance. They persuade us to work hard and to keep trying if we are struggling with something. They encourage us when we are in despair. Success will come if we are dedicated to making it work. Other than our teachers, there have also been many other people who have helped us throughout our high school years. Our principal and deans have given us their leadership. Our counselors have given us advice and guidance. Our friends have always been around to cheer us up and be a companion. And finally, there are also our families who have always supported us. Without all these people, our graduation would not have been possible. As we depart today, wherever we will go, college, work, or the military, remember that we will always have our diploma and, more importantly, our education. Explore the world around us. Take advantage advantage of the many opportunities that are available. There's a bright future ahead of us. May everyone succeed in whatever he or she pursues. Thank you.
Thank you, Yushan. Scholar, leader, and friend, Dr. Richard Moser exemplifies the commitment to educational excellence. It is my pleasure to introduce the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Richard Moser.
Thank you very much. The last 3 days have been very, very interesting for me. I've invested a great deal of time on Saturday writing a speech that would introduce Senator Tsongas to you as our guest speaker. And I want to congratulate the senior class for their choice, because the development of my introductory remarks gave me the opportunity to think about some of the issues that he would have brought before us today. I'd like to speak a little bit about some of those issues in his absence, but for a minute, let me speak a little bit on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, it became clear that graduation would have to be postponed, and Senator Tsongas would be unable to attend this Monday's ceremony. Knowing his wife was going to be his replacement, I busily spent the rest of my Sunday writing introductory remarks to introduce his wife, Mrs. Tsongas. As you know, she had to decline as well. By this time, I had written 2 different speeches and found myself early this morning writing yet a third, namely my share of the Levine, Pasquale, and Moser triumvirate. According to my calculations, I spent over 12 hours preparing a speech, most of which I won't even use tonight. In fact, most of it was just taken by Ms. Tron, which I appreciate. While I think our students are worth all of the time, I hope my comments are helpful in making this graduation a successful and a positive experience for our students and their guests. Most graduation speakers concentrate on the future, describing the world our youth will be stepping into and giving wise advice on how to be successful. I think it's important to focus on the past and the present as well. In terms of the past, really let me ask a question of our graduates. How many graduates here can think back and give me the name of your kindergarten teacher? Just raise your hand. That's good. I wouldn't expect our graduates to be able to name all of their teachers, but it is important that today we recognize the contribution that many adults have had into your success in Chelmsford. It is equally important that you know many people beyond those present today are celebrating this graduation as well. I think back to the kindergarten teachers. Let me just share their names with you quickly. Mrs. Combs, Mrs. Appleton, Mrs. Evans, Mrs. DiNatale, Mrs. Livingstone, Mrs. Knight, Mrs. Renzulli, Mrs. Tolpa, Mrs. Cutcliffe. That's where you started in this world in the Chelmsford schools. A number of others contributed greatly. The late Mr. Hogan, principal of Byham School. Mrs. McCready is retiring this year in grade 1 at Byham. Mrs. Deneen, a third grade teacher. Mrs. Washburn, 2nd grade at Harrington. Mr. Doyle, principal of Parker School when many of you were there. Mr. Jordan, Mr. St. Marie in grades 6 and 5. Mr. Noy as principal of Westland School. Mr. Murray, who was a 5th grade teacher when you were in the Westland School. And at McCarthy, Mr. Timowitz, foreign language teacher, Mrs. O'Keefe in science, Mr. Tanner in health, and the list goes on. My hope is that as you move forward in your lives, that you also remember that these people really do mean a lot to you, and you mean a lot to them. In terms of the present, I think we'd simply like to enjoy this moment. As I look around our stadium, I sense it's filled with proud parents, grandparents, and other relatives, and we should really cherish this moment. While many teachers have had an influence on your lives, the greatest influences come from the people closest to you. I know you recognize the importance of this statement because I've taken the time to look through your yearbook, I was very impressed with the number of students who thank their mother and father for all they have done or commenting on the personal support of another adult. What brings us together today is a shared interest in your welfare. As the distance between you and your family grows in future years, and this is what growing up is really all about, it is comforting to keep the image of this day in your minds. It's truly a day of celebration, a day to celebrate your achievement as Chelmsford students, a day to look forward to your future, and a day to give thanks for the closeness of your family and friends. In terms of looking into the future, as I stated earlier, I enjoyed really reviewing Senator Tsongas's background and anticipating some of the things that he might have said if he could have joined us tonight. Given what I know about his background, and given my observations of the last presidential election, I think he would have given us some insight into the concept of leadership. We spend a great deal of time in our schools trying to nurture leadership. Leadership in the classroom, leadership on the athletic fields, leadership through the many extracurricular activities offered throughout our school and community. Leadership is important, but we have to recognize that leadership is not something held only by a few of you. It is the responsibility placed on all of you as you walk forward from this graduation stage. Let me explain a little bit. In the recent presidential campaign, I heard Senator Tsongas say that quality leadership is embedded in the notion of ideas. People follow people with good ideas. Without ideas, public service is simply a dance, a melody without lyrics, or a song without meaning. Senator Tsongas has taught us that ideas are important. Good ideas, articulated well, is what gives us direction. Senator Tsongas's writing of a call to economic arms, forging a new American mandate, is an example of how ideas can be placed into words and words into action. But you don't have to be on a national level to demonstrate leadership. Your ideas may enrich your future professional life, your work within your community, or your relationships within your present or future families. The message is that leadership stems not only from the quality of your ideas, but from the courage, wisdom, and fortitude to act on them in a responsible manner. I also heard Senator Tsongas focus during his campaign on the importance of distinguishing between doing things right and doing the right thing. Too often we focus on doing things right. Doing things right is a product of our experience. You've heard the expression, we're going to do it again and again until we get it right. But doing the right thing is born out of something much deeper. It requires the same qualities I observed as Senator Tsongas as I watched his campaign for the presidency: intelligence, insight, conviction, compassion, and virtue. Doing the right thing can be difficult. It can require personal sacrifice and hardship. Doing the right thing today, as we have talked about before, is just saying knowing to drugs, choosing sexual abstinence and avoiding the risks of a deadly disease, or supporting a classmate in the time of need. Doing the right thing tomorrow may mean a commitment to maintaining the highest professional ethics in business or government, a life of devotion to the upbringing of your children, or choosing between an investment for the welfare of many over personal gain. Leadership comes in many forms, but if we do not commit to doing the right thing, then our ability to successfully achieve our personal, community, or nationwide dreams will be diminished. On a last and more personal note, let me say that I think you are a graduating class filled not only with great leadership potential, but with creativity, intelligence, caring attitudes, and above all, enthusiasm for the life ahead of you. As your superintendent and representing all of our employees, we wish you well. We are proud to call you Chelmsford graduates, and we invite you back to visit us often. Thank you very much.
As Dr. Moses said, Senator Tsongas could not join us tonight. Mrs. Tsongas is spending time with someone who is gravely ill, a good friend of hers, and we can relate to that, this class of 1993. But I think we did okay. Graduated from Haverhill High School and a resident of Haverhill, Mass, with his wife, Marion. Our commencement speaker graduated from Boston College in 1971 with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, and graduated summa cum laude. Graduated in 1972 from Boston College with a Master's of Arts in Teaching. He is now in his 20th year in the Chelmsford school system, and he is the embodiment of the excellence of what is a teacher. I introduce to you our commencement speaker, Mr. Andrew Pasquale.
Thank you. I'm not much of a speaker, and this is not a speech. This is a talk to the class of 1993, actually. As you guessed, probably not too long ago, my being here today is a little bit of an accident, but it's a fortuitous accident for me. I realized just a couple of days ago that I never had a proper chance to say goodbye to my senior students. You know, what happened was I scheduled a quiz for the last day of school. Now, I wrote the quiz for 20 minutes, but I forgot how painstaking and careful my students are, and so an exercise which I expected to take 20 minutes took 44. And so the time I had set aside to say goodbye disappeared. So now I can make that right, make some amends. I have no idea what Mr. Tsongas was going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about the subject I know best, and that's the students of Chelmsford High School. And I didn't know it, but I'd be sort of reversing Yushan's talk. She said some very nice things about the teachers of Chelmsford High School. I'm going to say some very nice things about you. It may sound gratuitous, but it's from the heart. But to talk about you, I have to talk about me first. And I'll start with a statement that might surprise you. I have the best job in the world. I'll say it again. Teaching, when it's right, is the best job in the world. It challenges a person in every way that a person can be challenged. It challenges you intellectually. How do you solve this problem? Once you've decided how to solve this problem, how do you show somebody else how to solve this problem? It challenges a person emotionally. In case you haven't noticed, the people sitting out here are not beakers into which you pour information. You're breathing, living, feeling human beings, and any teacher who misses that part misses the big picture. Teaching even challenges you on a physical level. I get a chance to run around my room and wave my arms, run up the stairs 2 at a time, and even at times separate 2 adolescents who want to take each other's heads off. But let me say again, teaching, when it's right, is the best job in the world. But there's an important qualifier in there, when it's right. I love my job, but it was not always that way. My first year teaching, I was dreadful, and I hated it. Now, you might chalk that up to inexperience, first year teacher, and the fact that I was in a middle school, 7th and 8th graders. What beasts. So I tried my second year at a different school, 8th and 9th graders. And I was, I think, probably technically a better teacher. I had learned some things in my first year, but I liked it even less. I saw very little response to what I was doing. That was in a different school system, not Chelmsford. Then I got lucky. I was about to take a job at Haverhill High School, from which I had graduated, when I got a telephone one night from a person who lived in Haverhill, who knew me by reputation, and who was the department head of math at Chelmsford Junior High School at the time. He told me that there was an opening at the high school. Would I be interested? Well, I knew nothing about Chelmsford at the time. This is way before the days of the Merrimack Valley Conference. But I said, what the heck, I'll go take a look. I was interviewed by Mr. Conrad, who was the math department chair at that time, and Mr. Simonian, who was the principal at that time. And I got some really good feelings from what they said. So I took a shot. And it was the best thing I ever did. And I've been here ever since. So I guess what the difference is that I was the same person, but the people in front of me were different. The people in front of me were you. The students in Chelmsford, I've always found, from the very first day, 20 years ago, till today, I found you to be wonderful people, responsible, responsive, wanting to learn, curious, coming from families who respected education. You've made all the difference. The reason why I love my job is you. For some of you, this will be the last time I'll ever see you. For others, you'll stay in contact for a while and then maybe drift away. That's the way life is. Others of us will stay in touch probably quite a long time, if you're like other classes that I've known. If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you a little story. Last November, I got a letter from a student who graduated from Chelmsford High School in 1983. It was an invitation to his wedding. I was a little surprised. We had stayed in touch, but he was living in San Diego, and I thought a wedding invitation was a little much for him, and maybe a little much for me also. But I put it aside and talked about my wife about whether we'd go or not. About 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from Richard, who the young man was. And he said, well, I really don't expect you to come. I know it would be a lot of money, but I wanted you to know that if you could possibly be here, I wanted you here. And so we talked for about a half an hour, and that was my wedding gift to him. At the end of our conversation, he closed with a question. He said, have you ever read anything by the author Tracy Kidder? And I said, yes, I had. I'd read his book called The Soul of the New Machine, about the development of a computer at Digital Corporation. He said, well, check out his latest book. It's called Among School Children. And I wrote the title down and promptly forgot about it. A couple of months later, I was strolling around the library looking for something to read for reading period. And I saw the book, Among School Children. And I picked it up and I started it. And at first, I really didn't understand why Richard had recommended this book to me. It was about, the author had spent a year observing a 5th grade self-contained classroom in Holyoke, Massachusetts. 5th grade, self-contained. That means the teachers with the kids all day long, all year long. He watched for a year and then wrote a book about what he saw. It's a very moving book. I grew to love it, and I grew to see a lot of the little children, the little 5th grade kids in the book. They reminded me a lot in many ways of you, and the teacher reminded me a lot of me, and I think that's why he recommended the book. Towards the end of the book, the author senses a change in the feeling of the teacher. It's coming near the end of the year. It's time to make separation. The teacher won't see these kids probably ever again, many of them. They'll go off to different schools and go off to their lives. And Tracy Kidder writes the following words. Many people find it easy to imagine webs of malevolent conspiracy in the world, and they are not always wrong. But there's also an innocence that conspires to hold humanity together, and it is made of people who can never fully know the good that they have done. He's talking about a teacher who influences many lives. Well, I'd like to dispute that a little bit and turn it around. First of all, we may not know fully what good we've done, but we know. We see it in your eyes. We hear it in the things you say and the things that you write. And we see it in your lives, the good lives that you go on to lead. And I'd like to turn it around to say that if there's anybody who doesn't fully know the good that they do, it's probably the students in the classroom. You don't realize how much you've enriched the lives of myself and my fellow teachers. This is why we like our jobs. This is why we would do what we do. Now, that place over there, Chelmsford High School, is a place I call home for a very large fraction of my life. And believe it or not, it's a wonderful place to call home. Now you guys are moving out. I'll miss you all. I'd like to say good night tonight as a friend, not a teacher.
Mr. Pasquale, I'd like you to come back to the podium for just a minute. I would like to present this to Mr. Pasquale and make you, Andrew Pasquale, an honorary member of the graduating class of 1993.
Thank you. I'm among good company.
Unfortunately, he lost his classroom because of the reading period remark, but it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the chairwoman of the Chelmsford School Committee, Mrs. Barbara Ward.
Families, friends, special guests, staff, and members of the class of '93. Lee Atwater, the late Republican National Committee chairman, wouldn't have said that there was a crisis of the spirit in this country if he had known this class. You are creative, committed, caring people who know the value of friendship and how to be a friend. The world needs what you have to offer, and these qualities will take you far. But as you go, remember what Charlie Brown says: a friend is someone who likes you. And know that you have a friend here who would be honored by your friendship. Congratulations and good luck.
Are you ready?
Yes, please. Andrew, behind you. Disrespect. Bravo. Well, great. Off on first. Off on first. Push down on the top one. Good. We're going to come up these stairs. The first girl is Andrew. Kristen Ann Anderson. Sarah Ann Arnold. Karen Ann Barbera. Barbara Jean Baer.
Nora Ellen Benoit. Jill Ellen Bernard. Brittany Ann Bevington. Karen Patricia Clark. April Lynn Constantino. Andrea Elizabeth Cosgrove. Elizabeth Cushing. Amy Louise DeSonia. Brooke Kimberly DeNatale. Sandra Lynn DeNatale. Jennifer Marie Diven. Kristen Lee Dunn. Amy Bridget Economo. Miriam Elizabeth Feeney. Karen Ruth Flynn. Amy Rebecca Franks. Nicole Marie Gelinas. Christina Lynn George. Sarah Marcella Goldreich. Lynn Ellen Ganaris. Nicole Marie Grasso. Carolyn Ann Hall. Jennifer Lynn Hansen. Sandra Marie Hartquist. Deborah Margaret Heroux. Sharon Marie Higgins. Laura Marie Holt. Laura Jacoby. Lee Gossick Johnson. Pamela Catherine Kalin. Jennifer Lee Kalis. Melissa Ann Kennedy. Carrie Ann Kenyon. Sarah Catherine Knowles. Molly Ann Koblenz. Jill Kristen Laba. Twee Lee. Lisa Ann LeGrand. Julie Ann Lino. Stephanie Ann Lowe. Melanie Ann MacDonald. Kara Michelle Main. Sophia Maravellius. Michelle Lee Martell. Donna Marie Lucia Martin. Minashi Mavaha. Kristen Danielle McCarthy. Stacy Lynn McEnany. Michelle Maureen McLaughlin. Julia Catherine McNally. Julie Marie Meidel. Lauren Suzanne Miller. Melissa Ann Mingalelli. Kerry Lynn Monahan. Marcy Elizabeth Montgomery. Lisa Michelle Newman. Michael Nickerson, class of 1990, will receive the diploma for his sister, Carrie Jane Nickerson. Carrie Lynn Olson. Kristen Laurie Oten. Elizabeth Ann Palm. Nina Persakis. Beth Ann Petro-Roy. Kimberly Ann Phillips. Robin Marie Raduazzo. Angela Marion Ricciardi. Lauren Lee Russo. Michelle Ann Scanlon. Bridget Ann Schroeder. Amy Lee Shattuck. Jill Ann Samard. Alexandra Julian Spillane. Tracy Denise Sullivan. Andrea Lee Tambo. Yushan Tran. Jennifer Lilac Tripp. Hillary Ruth Ward. Shannon Marie Warren. Mary Elizabeth Welch. Kimberly Jean Wennerstrom. Michelle Nissa Ween. Tammy Marie Wing. Natalie Jane Yoder. Seth Andrew Arkin. Jason Richard Arsenault. Jason Leo Bergeron. Brian Robert Bormeister. Stephen James Bovitt. Scott Edward Borowick. Mark Henry Baroyan. Michael Leonard Buckland. Ralph Walker Bush II. Patrick Joseph Calnan Jr. Jeffrey Robert Cantara. Peter Carrigan. Kevin Jude Conley. Michael George Craig. Bryce Matthew Crocker. Stephen Richard Dater. Mark Allen Diet. Joshua Paul Downing. Charles Allen Drake. Bruce Burke Colin Driscoll. Scott Anthony Driscoll. Luis Salvatore Duarte. Jeremy Ernest Eaton. Mark Lewis Eschbaugh. Owen Richard Evans. Brian Robert Fowler. Martin Lawrence Furman. Matthew Joseph Gamache. Sean Christopher Gilliland. William Frederick Gramer. Adam Robert Guthrie. Bruce James Hopper, Jr. Kevin Richard Harrington. Michael Todd Haas. Andrew David Holloman. Michael Andrew Horan. Craig Markel Hovey. Matthew Dennis Ireland. Daniel Webster Johnson. Eric Michael Kaplan. Eric Paul Kelly. Scott Douglas Kleiner. Gary Hagop Koltukian. Eric George Kozlowski. Kenneth Patrick Laflamme. Bo Daniel Lamontagne. David James Levine. David Michael Lentine. Jonathan Ira Lichtenfeld. Shannon Dean Logan. Michael David Lowe. Darrell Warren Lucy. Scott Andrew Mabin. Christopher Allen Robert McLean. Kenneth John McPhail. Daniel Lee Maffio. Daniel Dunn McGuire. Michael John Mast. James Kenneth Mayall. Brian David McKay. Jason Patrick McDermott. Todd Frederick McDonald. Paul Stephen McGrath. Clinton Lawrence Miskell. Scott Joseph Moreau. Bryant Edward Morris. Brian Patrick Muse. Jeffrey Alexander Monroe. William George Noak. Aaron David Nolan. Andrew Angelo Paleologus. Brian Andrew Pappenfuss. David Matthew Parks. Robert Allen Pemberton. Mark Louis Piriello. Brenton Arthur Papalizio. Scott Richard Priori. Edwin Jeremy Quimby. Eric David Ravenstein. Douglas Walter Rideout. Jacob Paul Emmett Roth. Yeah, I know. Michael Christopher Scully. R. Douglas Shaw. Christopher Stagnan. Ryan Baldwin Staplin. Michael Leslie Steves. Robert Thomas Clint Tello. Peter Theophilopoulos. Theodore Anderson True, Jr. William John Turner. Christopher Michael Tamula. Felipe Manuel Venegas. Jeffrey Jonathan Weber. Stephen Lloyd Warren, Jr. Brian David Wilcox. Michael Jason Yakos. Christopher Daniel Zillick.
All right, halfway through, folks.
Thank you, Pastor.
Watch that.
Iga Adamovica. Nancy Ellen Archambault. Melissa Gail Arledge. Stephanie Sandra Athanasoulis. Jenny Lynn Bausch. Erin Marie Bernard. Jennifer Ann Borowski. Carrie Lynn Baroyan.
Susan Victoria Boss. Stephanie Breen. Lori Barbara Brower. Laura Ann Brown. Pamela Janet Calnan. Beth Hollander Shipman. Jennifer Ann Clark. Jennifer Lynn Conrad. Karen Marie Corcoran. Beth Ann Coro. Paula Ann Courtois. Jennifer Lynn Daly. Laura Beth DeYoung. Heather Lee Donahue. Laurel Meredith Drum. Lynn Marie Erickson. Nettie Catherine Evans. Kristen Marie Farr. Jennifer Marie Ferrin. Courtney Joan Finnegan. Carrie Ann Fleming. Jennifer Fukar. Megan Elizabeth Garnham. Erica Lisa Gaudette. Melissa Lynn Gaudette. Heather Glynn. Rachel Ann Goldman. Melissa Ann Goss. Rebecca Alexis Griggs. Catherine Elizabeth Hand. Jennifer Ann Hallowell. Melanie Catherine Higgins. Brandy Faith Hone. Nicole Marie Johnson. Nancy Jean Keeley. Rebecca Lynn Noble. Cheryl Ann Coach. Tracy Lee Coach. Julie Marie Kurzwick. Jennifer Lynn Lambert. Amy Eileen Landry. Karen Lee Lavarnway. Win Huang Lee. Carrie Ann LeBlanc. Melissa Sarah Lemkin. Michelle Lige Lee. Mary Courtney McDougall. Julie Beth McFarland. Renee Lynn Major. Tamara Jeanette Mockerell. Eileen Ann Marinella. Lisa Michelle Martino. Jennifer Marie McCarran. Kerry Ann McCrensky. Linda Dawn McCrensky. Marcella Marie McDonald. Mitzi McGee. Kerry Lee McIntyre. Julie Ann Mills. Norma Liliana Montemayor. Laura Montedoricio. Gloria Liliana Moore. Naomi Kate Needle. Kendra Denise Nolette. Alicia Ann Orlando. Jennifer Marie Ortolf. Elizabeth Robin Parker. Jennifer Colleen Perigny. Melissa Beth Peters. Amy Marie Petro-Roy. Andrea Jean Polycrones. Asha Lynn Prasad. Lauren Elizabeth Katraki. Tara Jean Rashis. Shelley Jean Reedy. Kathleen Maria Rogan. Nicole Helene Roy. Christina Elizabeth Ryan. Martha Hewitt Sinetta. Carrie Lynn Saunier. Tanya Ann Stakowitz. Kelly Marie Stander. Leslie Allison Steinman. Tracy Jean Syria. Jennifer Marie Tansino. Erin Maureen Tavano. Catherine Ann Totten. Keisha Beverly Turpin. Amanda Diane Ulmer. Jessica Maria Valadares. Sarah Jo Vandekar. Christine Ann Villeneuve. Stephanie Ann Wagemaker. Amy Beth Weldon. Yvonne Doris White. Kristen Whitlow Wakanda. Marcy Sarah Wisenbach. Meredith Jill Yakos. Lynn Ann Zabrowski. Gregory Brian Amiro. Richard Francis Bikini Jr. Darrell Ahmed Baez. Stephen Robert Bean. Stephen Joseph Boucher. Scott Allen Berger. Brian Robert Biondi. Brian Jeffrey Blackburn. Kevin David Breer. Daniel J. Brooks. Jeffrey Donald Cancella. Scott Allen Carney. Ryan Scott Casey. Anthony Patrick Coit. Matthew David Crocker. Rodney Scott DeCateret. Brian Duran Desjardins. Chris Ivo DiGiovanni. Mark Holmes Porter Dolat. Guy Christopher Doyen. John Leo Durkin. Gregory Charles Federico. Keith Joseph Grenham. Sean Michael Griffin. Kevin Leo Gustafson. Todd Henry Hamlin. Christopher William Harmony. Thomas Francis Harrington. Ryan Andrew Hurt. Christopher John Howard. Derek Patrick Hunt. Armin Abraham Jaknavorian. Wesley Andrew Jones. Eric Francis Carr. Joseph Reuben Kaufman. Matthew Peter Kennedy. Bernard Francis Kiernan III. John Patrick Kivlin. Peter Normand Lebrecht. Brian Arthur Lovejoy. Yiling Liu. Scott Mackey. Keith James McPhail. Michael Vincent McGee. Jason John Molesky. Richard Michael Martin. Michael John Mayotte. Chris James McAnespy. Michael Thomas McGoldrick. Christopher John McNeely. George Mihalidis. Larry Lee Montague. Jeremy Matthew Morse. Michael James Mozakowski. Daniel Stephen Nolan. Christopher Allen Pajak. Sung Bai Park. Christopher Charles Thayer. John Patrick Pollard. Stephen Paul Richardson. Eduardo Rodriguez. Darren Russell Zawicki. Donald George Tataka. Wilson Lee Sue. Kurt Edmund Wagner. Timothy Joseph Wachowski. Robert Lawrence White. Eric James Whitney. Jeffrey Robert Woolard. Michael Francis Wright. Eric George Zerbanopoulos. And the president of the class of 1993, Jeffrey Paul McKeever. Probably.
Graduates, could you please turn your tassels? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 1993.
Yes, you do. In fact.
Class of 1993, you've all graduated! Party and make rights!